There's a lot of purposes for doing a great warm-up. That includes warming up the musculature, increasing your core temperature, getting your central nervous system ready for a workout. It can also be a great assessment tool for the coach so that you kind of get an idea of what you're working with and who you're working with. It's also a great way to engage athletes and get them started with a workout. Now, depending on how your sessions are run, some people are doing this in a business setting, some people are doing this as part of a team practice or a sport practice, others are doing this in an institution or like in a PE class. Some of you are going to have self-guided warm-up routines, meaning you're going to teach an athlete how to do a warm-up routine, a basic warm-up routine, and they're going to do it on their own. Others of you are going to include your warm-up in the actual session, so you're going to be coaching them the whole time. You're going to have to decide how to best fit a warm-up routine into your programming so that you can make it work for your situation. If you have large groups, you're probably going to want to include the warm-up with you there. If you just have a couple of athletes who are going to be seeing you on a regular basis and you have some basic things that you want them to cover, having them do a self-guided warm-up is an excellent way to get the most out of your time. For example, if you only have an hour to work with an athlete, or even shorter time sometime, a half an hour, and you're going to be working with them on a consistent basis, you may be better off teaching them how to do a simple warm-up routine so they can be warmed up and ready to go when it's time to go. If you have hour-and-a-half long sessions with a group of athletes, or you like to use it as an assessment tool or vary it every single time, then you're going to want to incorporate yourself into the warm-up routine so that you can vary it and you can make sure that they're getting a very thorough warm-up routine. So it's going to be up to you as a coach to decide how you're going to use a warm-up routine, flexibility, and everything to get started in a session. I'm going to take a couple of athletes through a pretty elaborate warm-up routine. We're going to have a short distance that we're going to cover so that you don't have to sit here and watch them, running up and down for very long. So everything's going to be in a relatively compact area. And I'm not suggesting that you do every single exercise, stretch, dynamic warm-up drill that we do here. I'm going to take them through a bunch of different exercises and drills so that you get some ideas. The point is that you're going to want them to do some rhythmic activity. You're going to want to go through different planes of motions and different planes of movement. So you're going to want to be going forward, laterally, backwards, doing some diagonal stuff and rotational things. You're going to want to have a couple of dynamic drills in where they're moving through ranges of motion. And then you may want to have some basic static stretches or some people will call some of these more dynamic stretches, but some of them are more static stretches. So it's up to you to figure out how you want to incorporate all these things. I'm also going to show you a concept called 3D stretching so that you can see how to stretch the muscles in different planes of motion with one stretch. So we're going to go through a warm-up routine with Jake and Aaron, and from here you're going to be able to kind of form your own warm-up routine on how you want to incorporate all of these drills. So I like to start off with simple jogging and get into the rhythmic stuff first to increase the core temperature and get them ready to go. So I've got Jake and Aaron here ready to go, and we're going to go just between these two cones. Like I said, most of the time you're going to use a longer distance, but I'm just going to have you guys do everything I tell you from here back to the line. So let's just do a nice easy jog here and back. When you get there, stay facing that way, and let's backpedal now. Good. Let's turn facing forward and do some nice, easy, low, long shuffles. There you go. Now, for some athletes, you may actually have to teach them how to do some of these movements. So like I said, this may turn into a teaching session. Now let's do some quick, teeny little shuffles. Quick, teeny little shuffles. There you go. Staying up on the balls of your feet. Perfect. We're going to go right into a nice, easy karaoke. You don't have to get your knees up high. Some younger athletes, you're going to have to teach them how to do a karaoke. We're going to do the next one's going to be a high knee karaoke. Perfect. And then we're going to go into a quick foot karaoke. Some people will call it a tapioca, so just teeny little steps. Perfect. Now these guys know how to do all these things. Like I said, you may have to slow it down for younger athletes. We're going to do a high knee run. Let's do high knee run there, and we'll do butt kickers back so we don't have to show it over and over again. Let's go. So high knee run, you're getting into a little bit of mechanics, so you're going to want to make sure that they're up on the balls of their feet. Butt kickers, we're snapping heels up to the butt. Same idea, balls of their feet, quick steps. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it laterally. So let's face forward and do high knees towards me and butt kickers back. You can see that they're getting great arm action as well. With the younger athletes, or if you haven't gone through all these drills, you might have to teach them how to incorporate their arms. And let's do some nice easy skipping there and back. And then stay facing that way and let's skip backwards. You're going to see in the youth section that we use skipping a lot with young athletes, different variations of skipping. Let's try to face forward and let's do some side skipping. Don't let your feet cross over you. Good, we could obviously do that back, but then let's do some skipping in little circles, just little circles. There you go. Yep. Yeah. Perfect. And you're obviously going to want to go in both directions. All right, we can also do power skips where you're skipping as high as they can, and then we're going to get into some more dynamic warm-up stuff. So let's just start walking towards me, and let's get some knee hugs, pulling your knees up nice and high. One step and then right into the next one. Good. Good, let's turn around. We would do more of these, but let's turn around and let's start cradling your foot. Cradle your foot. Good. Again, we do more of these, but let's get right into grabbing the opposite foot, opposite hand, and reach up as high as you can. Perfect. Now you could be traveling, a whole team could be traveling down a field. You don't have to turn around on all these. So you could have a giant line and everybody's doing these moving forward. Let's get into opposite hand, opposite foot, just reaching up and doing some easy kicks. Excellent. All right, now let's turn around and we're going to get into some more of the dynamic stretches. So I'm going to have you guys start in a push-up position. Let's start in the top of a push-up position, and let's bring your right foot up to the outside of your right hand. Good, this is the perfect stretch. And now let's take your right hand and reach up in the sky. Good, and then take your right elbow down towards the ground. We'll generally do that a couple of times. We're going to switch right into the other side though, so put your feet back, hands back, and bring your left foot up. And let's reach up to the sky with your left hand and elbow down towards the ground. Good. Let's put your knee down, your back knee down, push your hips forward and lean your body backwards. We're going to get a good hip flexor stretch. So go ahead and sit all the way up, get a hip flexor stretch. Some of you will want to take the opposite arm. So in this case, your right arm, you're going to want to reach it up and back behind you. And to get into some of the 3D stretching, the 3D stretching is basically holding a stretch and then moving through different planes of motion. So you can put your hand back, and now let's turn as far as you can to your left, and then as far as you can to your right. And athletes will feel this in different parts of their hip as they're doing this. From here, we would generally go into the other side, but for purposes of the video, so we can get through it a little bit, let's go ahead and put your hands down on the ground on each side of your hand or of your foot, and let's turn your knee out to the side and get a little glute stretch. Yep, perfect. So basically, what they're doing is they're letting their knee go out to the side, and they're feeling this in their glute. Now let's straighten out both legs. Stand up, straighten out both legs, and drop forward into a hamstring stretch. The 3D variation of this would be to walk your hands behind you to the left. Walk your hands to the left. There you go. And then let's go back behind you to the right. Let's walk your hands forward into a push-up position. All the way up into a push-up position. Good. Now we would obviously go and do that on the other side, but we can go into a drill called inchworms. Keep your knees straight and walk your tippy toes in towards your hands. You're going to have them hold it there for a second, and then let's walk your hands out in front of you into a push-up position. Sometimes we'll have them do a couple of push-ups if we want to warm their shoulders up. So go ahead and warm up your shoulders, do 2 push-ups. Good, and let's walk them back in. We don't have to do it, but we would walk it back out. There you go, walk it back out. And then if you want to engage the abs a little bit, we can have them leave their feet where they are, and they can walk their hands out away from them as far as they can to engage the abs and shoulders, and then you can bring your hands back in. You could do that multiple times. And now let's walk your feet halfway in, and we're going to get a calf stretch. Let's get a calf stretch on just your right leg. So pick your left leg up off the ground so it's unweighted. Generally, you're going to want to ask athletes to get their heels right against the ground, and this is another great assessment tool. You can see, does somebody have very tight calves, or do they have a lot of range of motion? The 3D variation of this drill would be to leave your heels right where they are, guys, and then I want you to rock your hips side to side a little bit. Sometimes athletes won't really understand exactly what you want them to do, so you can take their foot and really hold it in one place, and then you can say, I want you to go side to side with your hips. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and stand up, and let's get a big wide stance, giant wide stance, and let's bend your right knee down to one side, and you're going to get a growing stretch. The 3D variation of this would be then to lean forward and backwards as you're stretching. Perfect. And then we would obviously go to the other side, and we would go through a couple of rocks forward and backwards. And I really like to incorporate different lunge variations into this. So we could just stay in place. We could do lunges where you're lunging and reaching forward, or I'm sorry, reaching backwards. There you go, and then back into place. Let's do that again on the other side. You would do multiple variations of that. We could do lunges straight to the side. Let's do lunges straight to the side. Good. Let's go the other way, and let's reach across your body. So if you wanted to incorporate different ranges of motion. And then I like the 45-degree angle lunge where you're turning on an angle. Let's take a giant lunge back on an angle for them. Good. Back into place, and let's go the opposite direction. Excellent. Now, if we'd had a longer area here and we did more reps of this warm-up would take a little bit longer. Generally, a warm-up is going to take somewhere between 7 and 10 minutes. At this point, I like to start incorporating some easy jumping movements. So I'm going to have these guys come over here to this white line, and we're going to just do some easy plyos moving forward or jumping forward and backwards over the line as quick as you can. So I'm going to have you bend your knees slightly. Keep your chest in one place, upper body loose, and you're just going to be jumping forward and backwards over the line. Generally, we'll do this for 5 to 10 seconds. Right now, let's just do it for 5 seconds to show everybody what we're doing. Ready, set, go. Stop. Good. I'd give them a little break. You can have them do something in between. We can do some big shoulder circles if you want to keep them moving. So let's do giant shoulder circles. Let's go the other way with it. Good, and then let's turn to the left, and we're going to go side to side over the line. Just for 5 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. Stop. Good. Let's get some nice, easy arm swings, or trunk twists, I mean. Now, when they're doing these jumps, you can start to see what you're working with. Is the athlete able to get down into a good athletic position? Is he or she up on their toes too much when they're jumping? Are their ankles going side to side too much? So you get a feel for what you're getting into in the session. I would generally then do one-footed jumps, so we would jump forward and backwards. Aaron, just go ahead and demonstrate that real quick. Just jumping forward and backwards on one foot, we'd switch to the other foot, and let's just do it sideways too so they can see. Good. And then we would switch feet as well. And then one more drill I like to do to get the feet warmed up and get athletes engaged is we're going to just step forward and backwards over the line. Nice quick feet firing forward and backwards. Ready, set, go. We're just going to do it for a couple seconds here. Good, perfect. You can stop. So when they're doing that, you can have them either look up, you can hold up fingers, you can point in different directions, you can ask them math questions, whatever you want to do to kind of engage them while they're getting their feet moving. You can also have them moving to one side as they're moving down a line, so they're getting some different motions. All in all, what you're looking for is to get that rhythmic action, get their heart rate up, get their core temperature up, get them stretching in multiple planes of motion, multiple directions, using some rhythmic, some dynamic, some static, mixing all these into a routine that is comfortable for you, that's appropriate for the athlete, and can also give you a little bit of an assessment as to what you're working with as well, engaging them.